Shout out to LTTV.
Shout out to LTTV.
Shout out to brother LTTV.
Shout out to LTTV.
Shout out to LTTV.
Shout out to LTTV.
Shout out to brother LTTV.
Shout out to LTTV.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
So, Keefe house gets raided.
Yeah.
In Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
There is apparently a grand jury that are interviewing people as we speak.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you heard about him, about them raiding his house?
I mean, I think everyone was surprised. You know, like, the case is 27 years old. The proffer agreement happened years ago. There's been multiple documentaries about it. They're going to do it now? Okay. You know, the question is whether it's going to be like a real prosecution or whether they're just going to, hey, listen, just plead out to something slight and so we could just close the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have they reached out to you about any of your footage?
I'm going to give you the exclusive on this. They actually have tried. I've gotten a bunch of phone calls and emails and stuff like that, but I'm not cooperating with this.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
Johnny Tightlips, where'd they hit you?
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, LTTV, Blunt Talk with LT, back at it with another video. Alright, so let's get right into this one. So Keefe was on VladTV for many years, dating back, and many other platforms, snitching on himself. It seems like a theme. Everybody goes to VladTV to tell their dusty-ass war stories, putting themselves in danger of catching these cases. Vlad, you heard Vlad say he ain't saying nothing. Keefe is in this mess from, this is Tupac's murder. R.I.P. Tupac, obviously. Everybody in the car with Keefe is dead. All three of them. Keefe was snitching from the 90s. Keefe was the informant that took the proffer deal. He was snitching on all of them. He threw his cousin under the bus. And now he is in hot water because just wanted to speak.
I've seen him do it.
He did it to himself. Now, Vlad's saying he's not going to speak on anything going on in the investigation, although Keefe used his platform to tell on himself. Hey, you can't stop niggas from being stupid. If people want to be stupid, man, they're going to be stupid. They want to sign up for Vlad's platform to tell on themselves. What are we doing out here? We've seen DJ Envy go on Vlad to tell all sorts of war stories now. It's a theme. And for certain folks, Boozy, the recurring guest, Boozy ain't telling on himself. But the recurring guests, they're getting bags. They're getting paid. I don't know how it is for the normal guest, the one-time guest, the people that he interviews one time, you don't see them again. But the recurring guests get paid. So I don't know if there's an incentive for them to keep clout chasing because they're getting money and they want the views and they want to be able to get booked. Nonetheless, that's never an excuse. Clout is a hell of a drug. Let's get into this, y'all.
Do you think it's I mean, I'm assuming they can access the interview on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming what they want is the uncut version. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Just to see if there was anything talked about.
Correct. Yeah, but my thing, and I've always held this stance when it comes to people that interview on my platform, I'm not going to have you come to my platform and do an interview only to then work against you.
Yeah.
With the police. Regardless of what people think that I really do, the reality of what I do, and I've had to do this before. I remember this one time they tried to seize this one interview of someone who asked me to take it down like the next day.
Okay.
Because they were fighting a case. At the time, their lawyer asked me to take him down. They then wanted to get the footage from me, and I said no. And they were like, well, we're going to put you on the stand, whatever. We're going to subpoena you. Like, all right, well, I'm lawyering up then.
Mm-hmm.
So my lawyer got involved, and they weren't able to get it. And, ultimately the guy ended up losing his case anyways, but we weren't involved in it. So if you interview on my platform, if the police then try to approach me on it, I'm always going to say no.
Yeah.
So I haven't even responded. And I'm sure the police are going to watch this and now see why.
Yeah.
See, Vlad once said that his interviews have never been used in a criminal case. But, I guess...
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
But that's my stance. I'm not responding. I'm not cooperating. If you want to try to subpoena whatever, I will get a lawyer and I will fight it. And from what I understand, even in the language they use, I don't think that they can. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the raw footage, thinking there might be something that was said that we didn't release. But honestly, if you know what I do, literally almost every second of the footage has been released.
Okay.
Unless the person coughs or
Right.
says, "Oh, let me go get a drink of water. Let me go to the bathroom." Like we're into the quantity of footage, so we try to get every second of footage and try to release it whenever possible. So they're really barking up the wrong tree if that's what they're trying to do. And I don't think they haven't used any language of me of trying to force me to do it, because I don't think that they have any legal basis of it. But I'm not cooperating. Whatever Keefe is going through, VladTV is not going to add to his problems.
Okay.
Now, the videos are released publicly, so I'm assuming that they could probably access that. But it's out of my hands at this point. And whatever happens to Keefe happens to Keefe. I don't have any sort of malice towards Keefe at all. I appreciate him coming to my platform and telling his story. He may come back at some point. He may not. We've had discussions about that as well.
From the looks of it, yeah.
No, you ain't.
He doesn't seem like he's coming back unless it's one of those jail phone interviews. We've seen Vlad do those before. Maybe so, but this nigga told on himself, and they've been investigating for a long time. They have all the evidence. He was a snitch formerly in the same case. They know all the details. We're gonna get into all the details. It's over for this guy. It's bad, man. He did exactly what Andrew Tate did to himself, but this is worse. This is worse. They got him red-handed.
But what I didn't realize was that grand juries actually take a long time.
Yeah.
I just thought I thought it was like a trial. Like, okay, go on this date, everyone presents their evidence, and then the grand jury decides. But in actuality, this drags on for months sometimes, where every week they come in with something new, whatever, until they finally close their case and then the grand jury votes, which is honestly, I think, kind of a dirty system, because it allows you to just keep piling stuff on until you get what you want, as opposed to let me get my shit together and present it. But I'm not part of the legal system or whatever else. So whatever happens. But I'm not cooperating with any of this shit. Whatever Las Vegas PD is gonna do, they're gonna have to do that on their own.
Yeah. Do you think, based on what he said and what he's written in his book, they could convict him, or do you think they? I would think they would need some sort of evidence, because he could just say, "Oh, I just said all that shit to make money."
Yeah. I think it more so comes down to the proffer agreement. I think that what's more going to be challenged is whether the proffer agreement holds, because he said what he said.
Now, a proffer agreement. Listen, Academics tried to explain it on his channel, but he ended up coming and seeing the light. Pause. He's seen the light when it came to the proffer agreement. A proffer agreement is a roundabout way of snitching. It's a roundabout way of saying snitching. You're snitching. You're giving information to get some sort of plea deal to get out, to finesse your situation. Much like we seen with the Alford plea from that Gunna took, where he gave the information to get out of jail. It's like y'all, they're just snitching. So
To Greg Kading, and he essentially has been repeating that.
Hold on, y'all. Let me get this volume up a little bit, y'all. This video is a little lower than the others.
What's more going to be challenged is whether the proffer agreement holds, because he said what he said to Greg Kading, and he essentially has been repeating that in the interviews and whatever else.
See, he took an agreement back in the past when he was an informant on the case, when he snitched on his cousin. Said, oh, it was from the backseat. He snitched on his cousin. So they don't know if the agreement says he has some sort of immunity for the case in perpetuity, but it doesn't seem like that's the case because he's being arrested now. But I'm gonna finish this interview off. We have a lot of information to take in, so let's get it.
So if the proffer agreement holds, then technically they can't use any of that shit.
Yeah.
But if they say, well, the proffer agreement was only for that day, and if you choose to repeat it, then it can be used against you, then they may have something. But I think that this is like a gray legal area that is going to have to be argued in the legal system.
Yeah. And I interviewed Greg and asked him specifically about this.
Somebody like in Keefe D's position, if he has any of these agreements, is there any time that he can talk about the stuff that he discussed with you guys without getting in trouble?
No. When he goes outside of that agreement, that information is all there to be used, should a prosecutor choose to do so. So when he's gone outside of this law enforcement environment where he has been given this agreement, everything else is up for grabs. So everything that he's said in books or on YouTube channels or, on, multiple interviews, that's all information that can absolutely be used against him and should.
And
so why is this idiot running? Why is he running around doing interviews if he knows that's? Yo, these people for clout, man. Clout just be having everybody going outside crashing out.
his understanding of it was that the proffer agreement that was given to Keefe was for that one session only.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was always aware of as well. But then again, I think there's more to it.
Yeah.
And you also got to think. I just want to say this:
okay.
that I mean, Greg has been trying to solve this case, so Greg is going to say, things based on what he wants as well. And this is not a it's not a shot at Greg. It's just that Greg wants to solve this case. He was working on this case, so he's gonna ultimately hope for things to go his way, which may not always be, the way the law ultimately works out. So.
Yeah. Okay.
So ultimately, you're saying that Greg Kading might be leading the public astray because he wants to win the case. So he's gonna try to shape public perception so everybody's leading and slanting into the direction that he's. Now,
all due respect, shut the hell up. I want to hear that.
You already snitched. You already took the proffer agreement and said,
I've seen him do it.
So what are we doing here? And years later, he's still talking about this. Years later, so you did it to yourself, man.
I was born in Linwood, California in 1981. at St. Francis Hospital. And from there, I lived in Compton and Watts. And for those of you who know about Compton, it's a
now shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. O'Shea Duke Jackson did a breakdown of this. Let's get into this, y'all. We have more information following this breakdown.
very, very interesting city, and it was an interesting city in the 80s. But for some of my family members, especially my grandmother's sister's kids and things like that, our family lived on the south side of Compton. And there were two gangs that our family was and still is involved with: the South Side Atlantic Drive Crips and the South Side Compton Crips. Now, for those people who don't really understand, the South Side Compton Crips and Atlantic Drive Crips are like one big gang under the South Side umbrella. So when Tupac got killed, we already had an idea a long time ago who was implicated and who may have done it. Even though I wasn't there, I was living in Sacramento at the time, but I always heard one name ringing: Orlando Jones. Not because of that, but because of people who I know in my family that happened to be in Las Vegas at that time during the Tyson fight in which Tupac was killed. But that's something that should have never really been talked about. The streets kind of talked about it. And Orlando Anderson, who looked just like Tupac, was killed in another altercation where, at a gas station someplace, and he shot the person and they shot him. But a person that seemed to be having a lot to say about this is Mr. Keefe Davis, who's been going around the internet, around everywhere since 2009, talking about his implication with this shooting. Dwayne Keefe Davis was also a part of the Southside Crips. I've never met him, I didn't know him, but people in my family know him. And for him, as a member of the Southside Crips, he was there. His mistake was saying, I gave the gun to Orlando Anderson that killed Tupac. And he was going around saying this stuff for a long time until this happened.
I also want to bring in Greg Kading. He is a former Los Angeles police detective known for his decade-long work on a multi-agency task force investigating the murders of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Greg, thank you so much for being here. I keep wondering if Suge Knight knows something or saw something. Has he been able to be helpful in this investigation at all? Will he make an appearance at any trial as a witness?
Now,
what?
Suge was in the car. Suge also got a bullet in his head. It didn't pierce his actual, it was in his skin. It didn't actually pierce his head too much. He's seen everything. He was Johnny Tight Lips pause from the start. He was not saying nothing. He wasn't cooperating at all.
No, Suge's not going to step forward and provide any information. He's never been helpful. He's known all along who was responsible for shooting into the car with Tupac and him. He's always known. He looked directly at Keefe D. They locked eyes. He always knew who the assailants were, and he's never done anything to try to solve that. So I don't think we can expect him to now.
Well, given the fact
Lee said grazed head. In one of the videos that I seen, they said there was a bullet fragment that got chipped in his skin. It didn't in his flesh. It didn't actually pierce his skull, but it was chipped in his flesh and it was leaking out.
that Keefe D, wrote this book 5 years ago and implicated himself, talked about procuring the gun, handing it to the back seat. I mean, that almost sounded to me like it was enough for a prosecutor. I'm sort of surprised it wasn't enough. What do you think, or what do you know, they found when they executed that warrant that led 2 months later to where we are today with an arrest?
Well, after all this time, it's very...
You see, Keefe D's name is spelled with 2 F's instead of 2 E's in the middle. But on Vlad TV's interviews, there's 2 E's and an F, and in my title, I was confused trying to title this because I'm like, it's different spellings in different places, but let's get into this.
Unlikely that they found anything that had much investigative value. The strength of this indictment, the strength of this arrest, and the strength of this prosecution lies solely on the confessions that Keefe D has made since 2009. He's just reiterated over and over his involvement, and all of that has been substantiated. So now he's talked himself straight into prison.
Now, firstly, I'm not in the streets.
A goddamn idiot. That was his claim to fame. He wanted clout, so he used that. Because what else does he do? He wrote a book on it. He's doing all these interviews. What else do we know Keefe D for?
Go to jail, you son of a bitch! All right, hold on, man. You go to jail!
These guys do it to themselves, man.
And the one thing that I do like about Suge Knight, even though I love Tupac, Suge Knight knew who killed Tupac, but he never talked. Want to know why he never talked? Because Suge Knight was a part of that lifestyle. Now, some people will say it's debatable if Suge Knight was from Mob Hood or not, but he knew who killed Tupac, and who knows if he wanted to have some revenge. And I do know that there was a lot of killings going around after Tupac got killed in Compton, especially from retaliation from Mob Hood towards other people. It was real funky at that time. I wasn't living in LA in 1996. I was living in LA in 1993-94 at Compton. I was going to school at Benjamin O. Davis Middle School. But now this other stuff I'm not sure about. But the thing is, Keefe Davis, this is his cousin. Orlando Anderson is his.
Shout out to Brother Jumbie with the $5 super chat. Brother Jumbie says, can we get these likes up or are we just going to dust it up? W Saturday night stream LTTV. Shout out to Brother Jumbie with the $5 super chat. Yeah, can we get these likes up, y'all? These likes are looking rather dusty. We should have as many likes as people watching. Come on, man. Likes are free. Shout out to Brother Jumbie with the $5. Let's get it.
His cousin. And Orlando Anderson was also, friends to some of my relatives who were in the same gang. But it seems like to me that Keefe D. Davis had no real reason to go ahead and tell what happened. A lot of people already knew what happened. They know who killed Tupac. They know who shot Tupac. But why Keefe D. Davis decided to go out there and to snitch on his own cousin, which it was, I just don't get it. And now, look at where it has gotten you. Even though you were not the shooter who killed Tupac, you were there in the car. You handed the gun that killed Tupac. And it's just like, what kind of person do you expect to be? Like you snitched on your person, you're in your 50s or 60s by now, and then now your whole family faces this sort of retaliation for something that you admitted that you were a part of.
A grown-ass man, do you not have a family? Does he not have kids, a wife to take care of, a mortgage to pay? But you're using this war story for a claim to fame for this clout chasing bullshit? This nigga mad as hell. You should be mad at your own actions, nigga. Being held accountable for your own dusty actions. Goddamn, man. And you didn't even want to be held accountable. You wanted to take the Charleston White route and snitch.
And I have no idea why you thought you could do this and never be charged with a crime. I mean,
He thought he can do this and never be charged with a crime because he was a goddamn informant, and informants are unaccountable, dusty-ass motherfuckers that shouldn't be in the streets anyway.
Killed the greatest rapper to many people that ever existed, and nothing should happen to you. But I guess, hey, I killed a black person. I was there. I handed the gun as a black person. So, hey, it doesn't really matter because, Tupac is black. Now, if it had been anybody white and he had said that, he'd already be in jail. But because it's Tupac and it's his own self-confession, that's it. Now, they've went into his house and raided his house. And from what I understand, it's not a whole lot of evidence that might have linked them there because it's been so long, but it's been his own confession. And so here's what I want to say as a greater measure of what I'm talking about today. Guys, if you don't want to be in the streets, don't be in the streets. If you're in the streets and you got to go back out and start talking about what happened in the streets just to get clout as you get older, then you had no business being in the streets because you're still a snitch. Even though Orlando Anderson is dead, it's still snitching. So if you can't do that,
you hear that, T.I.? Even though the man's dead, it's still snitching. I've been saying that. Even O'Shea knows. Shout out to O'Shea.
That if you can't respect him like that, and again, it's wrong to kill Tupac. I get it, and I understand why it happened. I understand that, Tupac probably shouldn't have been, fighting this guy because the guy had did something to another death row member in the mall. You know what I mean? And took the guy's chain. I get all that. But if you can't be in the streets, Keefe, don't talk about it. Now you got to do the time. All right? Now you got to do the time. And you might not get no love in prison. You ain't Tory Lanez, bro. Somebody gonna have something to say about what you did because you don't know who still loved Tupac, but you about to find out. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again.
Now, one thing we know for sure, we know Jada Pinkett Smith still loves Tupac. She keeps sharing all their old ass memories But let's get it.
With another episode of The Celebrity Drunk, I appreciate you for all you do, subscribe.
Davis, of Tupac Shakur. 27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, Tupac Shakur was a artist who was signed with Death Row Records.
Hold up, y'all. See, we have some discrepancy in some of the clips volume, so let me get this volume up a little bit.
And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. On the night of September 7th of 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Dwayne Davis, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM. At that time, they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to the incident. And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satin
This
shirt
has been blanked out.
with Marion Suge Knight.
We do not have this incident showed because this clip was actually age restricted. So we're gonna we had to edit that out. But let's get into some of these details, y'all.
Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur.
I think that they are going to close this case. I think that there is very likely going to be an indictment.
Nearly 27 years after...
This was months ago. So Keefe D should have known this was coming around months ago. This video right here.
Rapper Tupac Shakur was killed, an arrest could finally be coming following a search of a Crips gang leader's home.
So I think, he's talked himself into a potential murder charge. And that's why this thing got rolling again.
The officer who heard Tupac Shakur's last words and a detective who investigated Tupac's murder discussed the case.
The search warrant is a good indication that they have an intention of finally solving this thing officially.
Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. Tupac Shakur was one of rap's biggest stars in 1996 when he was shot several times while riding in a BMW driven by Suge Knight on the Las Vegas Strip. Many people thought the case would never be solved, but there's now hope that an arrest could be in the works.
Now, you see, this was months ago. This was about 4 months ago. He was arrested sometime last night, or probably not last night. It was earlier in the day. The news came out during the day. Academics it was first broke in Academics Discord, I believe, and then I seen it everywhere online, but let's get it, y'all.
Last month, Las Vegas Metro Police executed a search warrant in nearby Henderson. The home is owned by Keefe Dwayne Davis, who goes by Keefe D, a South Compton Crips gang leader. Keefe has said in his book, Compton Street Legend, and in interviews, that he was in the car with the man who killed Tupac Shakur. The shooter, according to Keefe D, his nephew, Orlando Lane Anderson. This is what Keefe D told BET's The Death Row Chronicle. The shots that killed...
It's disrespectful for him to say, I'm going to keep it for the code of the streets, and then say it came from the back seat. Like, what are we doing out here? Some nasty work, bro.
Hell no! Trash-ass nigga.
Tupac Shakur were fired on the Las Vegas Strip on September 7th, 1996. Earlier that night, Tupac, Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight, and their entourage went to the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. Keefe D and his nephew, Orlando Lane Anderson, and two of their friends were also there. Keefe D told LAPD Detective Greg Kading more than a decade ago, in a proffer that couldn't be used against him, that the shooting was retaliation after Tupac jumped Orlando.
Okay, so they're gonna show some of the footage that we don't want the age restricting. I can show that to y'all in the Discord, or I can send a link to Law and Crime so y'all can see it. But we don't need all this age restricting in the video, so let's just fast forward through some of this.
A sergeant on bike patrol with the Las Vegas Metro PD was the first officer to arrive after Tupac was shot.
Suge Knight, who was the driver, he had exited the vehicle, and he's just shooting blood out of the side of his head. He's flowing blood out of the side of his head, and he's running around screaming and yelling. So what had happened, as it turns out, is he had been shot in the head, and the bullet penetrated his scalp, but not his skull. So he's still able to completely function, but the blood is just flying out of the side of his head. So he's yelling at me. I'm trying to get the door open. So when I did finally pull the door open, it opened up. Tupac, which I didn't know it was Tupac yet. Tupac was leaning against the side of the door. So when I opened the door, he kind of fell out, slumped out with the door as it opened. So I grabbed him with my left hand, and I, still have my gun in my right. And Suge Knight is yelling at Tupac. I was asking him, what happened? Who shot you? Who did this? And he, for the first time, he's kind of acknowledging my presence, and he's looking in my eyes, and I'm looking at his, and I could tell he's trying to get a breath together because he's having a very hard time breathing. And he looks at me, and he opened his mouth, and he said, "F you." And after he said it, he kind of gurgled and coughed. His eyes rolled back. He lost consciousness. So that would be the last thing that he ever said in his life.
Carroll said Tupac held to the no snitching street.
Now, I don't know if you can say that because I believe Snoop Dogg said that he seen him in the hospital and he exchanged a few words before he passed. I don't remember these stories, but everybody has their own rendition of exactly what happened. Excedrin says Keefe D mentioned Puffy, and there's also more arrests coming. We're going to react to Keefe D interview on Vlad because he was talking a lot on Vlad. We're going to get into that shortly.
Code until the very end. Members of his entourage did the same.
Nobody saw anything.
Carroll said Tupac held to the no snitching street code until the very end. Members of his entourage did the same.
Nobody saw anything. They've got nothing to add. We have no idea. We don't know what happened. Nobody saw anything. A couple of them even said, "We take care of this stuff ourselves." And I can even I certainly don't agree with it, but the code, especially then, was you don't talk to the police, period, under any circumstances. And I think the code was stronger then than it is now.
Tupac Shakur died days later after his mom took him off life support. Despite the lack of cooperation from witnesses, Carroll said it became clear who the shooter was.
Well, Orlando Anderson was just a hardcore criminal guy. I mean, everybody knew he was a shooter. He'd done it, God knows how many times. He lived the life of a criminal. He was a drug dealer. He had allegedly robbed Tupac of a chain he was wearing.
So it's pretty well known that he is the shooter, but Keefe D was in the car, and Keefe D allegedly passed him the gun, and he keeps telling these war stories. So Keefe D is gonna end up doing some time for something that he didn't specifically do, but he was an accomplice, so he's a part of it. The snitching didn't help him because he kept speaking about it. The agreement allowed him to give the agreement one time and one time only. The information one time and one time only, but he's been using it for clout to probably establish a bag and some sort of notoriety for this. It's just pathetic, man. Folks are making all the wrong decisions out here. If you want to be famous, get some talent. Display a talent. Do something that will elevate you for that you could sustain the fame, not just one story, one war story. Shout out to Excedrin for becoming a member of the chat pass.
I'm getting rich.
Welcome to the members. We have exclusive content behind the paywall. Shout out to you. Let's get it.
And that was, I guess, the start of the hate between the two, was that he robbed him. So
the following.
Oh no, you're renewing a membership, I believe. I believe he's renewing a membership. That membership badge says he's been here for a few months. Shout out to you. You already know what it is.
Spring in In March 1997, someone shot and killed the notorious B.I.G. in Los Angeles. Years would pass without an arrest in either murder. LAPD Detective Greg Kading was later assigned to a task force to investigate Biggie's murder.
We were looking at the cold case reinvestigation of Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls. But there had always been speculation that Tupac and Biggie's murders were somehow connected. And so one easily kind of migrated into the other. But yes, initially we were just looking at Biggie's murder. But once we got Keefe D cornered and he confessed to his role in Tupac's murder.
Every time we look back at Tupac and Biggie's murder, we look back at how young these motherfuckers were. They were young as hell. Like, look how young Biggie was. When you see Tupac, Tupac was 24, 25 at his death. They didn't even reach their full potential and they were already the GOATs.
We began to look further into that.
Kading says Keefe D told him what happened the night of Tupac's murder in a proffer.
Shout out to Excedrin with the $10 super chat.
I'm getting rich.
Said, yeah, I had to get a new Cash App too.
Keefe D was under pressure to give up something since the feds had evidence that tied him and his family to drug dealing. Orlando Anderson
Yeah, shout out to you for the $10 super chat.
couldn't be prosecuted because he was murdered a year after killing Tupac Shakur.
When Keefe confessed, he implicated the other co-conspirators. And although his nephew, the shooter, Orlando Anderson, was dead, and DeAndre Smith, the other individual in the backseat of the Cadillac, which was the assailant vehicle, he was dead. But the driver, Terrence Brown, was still alive, as was a guy named Eric Martin. They call him Zip. He was a New York drug kingpin. And he was still alive, and he had provided the gun to Keefe D to use that night. He was still alive. So what our strategy was is to get Keefe D signed up as a informant and then use him to try to...
You hear that? They had him signed up as an informant. These folks trying to act like this proffer agreement was just this sideways way out of it without being a snitch. It's like, nah, he was a snitch, bruh. Whenever you hear these words, it's like, yeah, they're cooperating, they're snitches. Shout out to Shirchai 87 with the $2 super chat.
I'm getting rich.
Yo, LTTV, I can't believe Keefe D broke his proffer. Listen, he thought his proffer was continued perpetually. He thought that, you know, he could just continuously speak his mind about the case and he'll be good. Nigga didn't read the fine print of the agreement. He didn't listen carefully when he was getting administrated the information. Just wanted to continuously tell this war story for a smidgen of clout.
to make headway into those other individuals. So that was our strategy, was to use TPD as a law enforcement tool, essentially, in order to try to get the other people to make incriminating statements.
Kading said the co-conspirators didn't give anything up to Keefe D. Fast forward to 2018, 3 years after filmmaker Mike Dorsey and Kading produced Murder Rap inside the Biggie and Tupac murders.
I reached out to Las Vegas police back in 2018 and alerted them when Keefe started doing these public interviews for the first time, starting with BET, his Death Row Chronicles interview that he did. And then subsequently, he's done a ton of YouTube interviews where he suddenly started talking very publicly about things that he had only discussed with police, as part of his proffer deal prior to that. They came out and interviewed me at my house. And that is the same detective who's leading the case now. So they reopened the case basically because we kept pushing for this to happen and kept telling him, look, he's telling this now, to the public, something, that he does not have immunity for.
Last month, police seized electronics, .40 caliber ammunition, copies of Keefe D's book Compton Street Legend, marijuana, a Vibe magazine with Tupac on it, and a tub of photos from Keefe D's house. Dorsey says the search of Keefe D's home took him a little bit by surprise.
Like this guy, how many times can someone tell you they did it and their crew was a part of this before you believe them and take action? And like you said, he wrote his book, which was for me, it was almost like a 220-page confession to what him and his crew allegedly did that night in Las Vegas.
What we've seen over the past few years is a lesson in stop using these goddamn war stories or these crimes for clout. We've seen it with Andrew Tate. We've seen it with Keefe D. We might end up seeing it with Charleston White. Who knows if there's a trail left behind the things that he's saying and he's just saying, oh, it's just for clout, it's just comedy. Who knows? People got to stop acting like they've been doing all sorts of crimes and using it for clout. It's foolish. They're going to come looking for you. They're going to look for the trail. They're going to look for any evidence.
So I had started to lose hope a little bit that maybe something would happen, but now for them to go this far with it, and I know that this, in my opinion, I think it's a very good detective on this case. I think that they are going to close this case.
Meanwhile, Chris Carroll remains skeptical after all of these years.
Taken some action, and like I said, I don't think it will produce arrestable charges, but we'll see. The one piece of physical evidence that, and probably the best piece that we do have, is the actual bullets that were inside of Tupac. We have those bullets. Unfortunately, we don't have a gun to match him to. So they don't really mean a lot unless you have a gun to match him to.
I've reached out to Las Vegas Metro Police for a comment. A spokesperson would only confirm a search warrant was executed. I've also tried to reach Keefe D. At the time of this recording, my call was not returned. For Law and Crime, I'm Anjanette Levy.
Now remember, this was months prior to the arrest, and we have the update from the clips we played earlier in the stream of when they actually arrested Keefe D for the crime. Now, when I listed the few folks that were telling on themselves via social media, whether it be YouTube or TikTok or a VladTV interview, that was only a few. I could list at least 10 rappers that are in jail right now because their dumbasses were talking about their shit publicly, whether it be on Instagram Live or interviews. I don't wish jail upon nobody. I'm not looking for people to just be locked up in a cell like an animal, caged up like that. But if you're doing these crimes and you're dumb enough to be speaking about them on air,
Crying to me and I'm not having
shout out to Excederin with the $5 super chat.
I'm getting rich.
Keefe D thought being an informant in California would grant him immunity in Las Vegas. Don't work that way. Okay, so he was an informant in California and he was in Las Vegas. Okay, the fine details. I didn't even pay attention to that. I didn't even pay attention. I'm just like, this nigga thought the proffer agreement was in perpetuity. I didn't even realize it was a different state. I wasn't paying attention to those details. Shout out to you for catching that. God damn. Yeah, man. These snitches never learn. All right, so let's get into the interview and let's listen to the things that he said on VladTV. Let me pull this up briefly. Y'all bear with me real quick. You got this VladTV interview. Oh, there's a bunch. This nigga was... Okay, before we get into the VladTV interview, let's get into this one. On the art of dialogue.
How do you feel about people that say, when y'all shot up the BMW that Suge Knight used Tupac as a shield?
That ain't true neither, man. That ain't true.
It's not?
Nah.
Why you say that?
That ain't true. I was there.
No, that ain't true. He was there.
So when y'all shot up...
That's the main thing. Next time I come on your show, was you there? That's what I'm gonna put on my shirt. Was you there? All the people you be talking about, they wasn't there, dude. Was you there? That's gonna be my new thing. Was you there? Pop was demised of his own. He was the demise of his own or his action. He shouldn't have did that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Especially you don't have no business getting involved in that. He ain't had no business doing that.
So when y'all was shooting up the BMW, what was Suge Knight's reaction?
He was getting down. Trying to duck. Anybody that got some sense, you want to get their ass down. But he was getting down there. He was trying to get out the fucking way.
So he wasn't trying to grab Tupac?
Nah.
And while y'all was shooting up the BMW, Tupac was trying to get in the backseat?
Oh, he just looked like he was breakdancing. And bullets was hitting him.
Tell me about the Warren G incident.
Oh, one night we was at our little trap spot. We was getting ready to get fresh and shit. When our big homeboy showed up, one of my big homeboys showed up. He like, where y'all going? Where you young niggas going? I said, man, we finna go to the House of Blues. Like, yeah. Like, I want to go. I'm going with you young niggas. See what you niggas is about. You know, not to use the N-word out like that, because I don't usually use, but that's what he was saying. So, we get to the House of Blues and shit. Boom. We having a good time and shit. My homie get drunk. And he knocked out like 5 people that night. He knocked out two of them yellow jacket securities. He hit this little Jamaican man. He didn't knock him out. I guess that Jamaican jaw was strong. So he knocked out about 5 dudes that night. So we went to the after we left the House of Blues, we went to the Fat Burgers. And Warren G and Cedric Sabalas was in there eating burgers and shit. So we came in there. It was about 12 of us, 13 of us. And the big homeboy, they just seen my big homeboy knock out 5 motherfuckers at the House of Blues. So he like, hey, Cedric Sabalas, you a fucking choke artist, motherfucker. You make me lose all my motherfucking money. So he looked at Warren G and was like, hey, man, it's a nice ass watch. Let me see how it look on my wrist. So Warren G was like, yeah, I'm serious. Let me see how it look on my wrist. So somebody got his attention somewhere, and he turned his head. By the time he turned his head back, Warren G was him and Cedric Sabalas was in a brand new 550 blue one. They ran off the curb, man. We loud like a bull. I said, he got to go get a new drive shaft or a motherfucking oil pan. He didn't even come down off. He ran off a big ass curve this high. That shit was funny as the mother. We loud like a motherfucker. But he remembered that he had seen what happened, went down at the House of Blues and got his ass scared. That shit was funny as a motherfucker, dude.
Right. So is it true that days before your nephew Orlando killed Tupac, Orlando killed somebody?
You see how he just bypassed the other shit? He was just like,
We don't care.
Let me tell you, we don't
he's
care.
like, all right, get back to snitching on yourself, sir.
I ain't heard that. I got to kill somebody.
Is it true that days before your nephew Orlando killed Tupac, Orlando killed somebody?
I ain't heard that. I got to kill somebody in Las Vegas.
No, they say days before, or maybe weeks before. They said he blew somebody's head off or something.
I ain't heard that. I ain't heard that.
Okay. I seen that clip on YouTube, yo. It was on the internet somewhere.
Just like Reggie Wright.
No, that was.
I'm talking about Junior.
No, this was like.
He swear up and down I pull a gun on him at the fucking what's the name, motherfucker. He's obsessed with me too, huh? He love my name.
No, that was a 90s news clip I seen on YouTube when I'm saying that.
Oh.
It's like a 90s news clip.
Nigga,
they said
sweating.
Orlando, they was. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he probably wanted that shit edited out. All right, so let's get to the main event. Let's get into the VladTV snitching moments. Let's get into this, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. And now, live from the sold-out arena, it's time!
All right, we are about to witness some heavy...
All right, so let's talk about that. So Reggie Wright,
the fuck is going on? Did the stream freeze? I think it's the am I back, y'all? Am I back? I think the copyrights. I don't know if Vlad shit I can stream. I don't know if I can stream that. God damn it, man.
Come on, man.
Let me try this again.
all right, so let's talk about that. So Reggie Wright said that police came to his house to investigate the Tupac shooting and your involvement in it.
That's what I don't understand. Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit? You know what I'm saying? Why they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit, man? It's like I said when he said, "Bet you need Keefe."
Yo, what the fuck is going on, man? Can I even access the screen? Chat, give me ones in the chat if we're back. Ones in the chat if we're back. I'm not even going to say two because it's no point. Y'all won't even hear me. Ones in the chat if we're back. The chat moving. Put ones in the chat if you... Okay, so we can see me. Man, this is rough.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Let me see this again.
Reggie Wright said that police came to his house to investigate the Tupac shooting and your involvement in it.
That's what I don't understand. Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit? You know what I'm saying? Why they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit, man? It's like I said when he said, "Bet you need Keefe getting locked up for Tupac murder," and I said he need to be right in handcuffs with me for Biggie murder because I know he had his hands in that shit. That was my get back to him.
Right, because Greg Kading also called for the Las Vegas Police Department to arrest you.
He did?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well, I did a deal with the U.S. attorneys and U.S. attorney, and the dude was from D.C., Justice Department. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I was like, "You came out here?" He like, "Yeah, I came out here to get you." And it was way bigger time people that was going to go down with. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I want to put this on the screen, but we've seen what happened the last two times. So I'm just going to hold off and we're going to listen to the audio.
A lot of people was going to go down. If I wouldn't have said nothing, everybody, we'd have lost our whole community, lost all my homies, you know what I'm saying? Shit, they shredded the indictment. So I really did a lot of people a favor. They should be thanking me, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think what Greg Kading's point was that when, he recorded you did the proffer agreement, all that can't be used against you. But if you choose to do interviews and talk about it again, then that can be used against you.
He the one did that crooked shit. You don't think that shit's crooked as a mother. We can get people killed behind that
when he
shit.
released the footage?
He had the fucking, man, the proffer deals, they don't record. You know what I'm
really?
saying? You know they
That's
don't record that shit, dude.
Okay, I didn't know that.
FBI don't record. He was set up there.
Yeah, don't ever trust the cops when they're saying they're not recording you snitching, bro. They're gonna use that and put it out there and facilitate you getting. You know what?
Doing that illegal shit, dude. That shit was illegal. I would have never said nothing if I knew he had a fucking thing in his pocket. That was supposed to be a fucking secret to the fucking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They even said sue his motherfucking ass.
I mean, you're 60 years old right now?
Almost
60.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all? Are you worried that this might come back and bite you? And you might end up having to, essentially, at this age, anything related to that would be a life sentence, right?
Man, dog, whatever life got to offer me, I'm going to handle it, dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm a God-fearing man. Whatever life going, you know what I'm saying, deal me, whatever cards I got dealt, I'm going to handle it. I ain't going to go up there and cut my wrist, hang myself, or nothing like that.
So he was taking those chances. We heard Vlad warn him. He was taking those chances.
Go to jail, you son of a bitch! All right, hold on, man. You go to jail!
This is idiocy at its finest. And wait, this is just one of many. There's more.
You want to come put me in jail for life? It's just something I got to do, dude. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm scared of jail or nothing.
Well, you've done a quarter of your life in prison already, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it doesn't really worry you.
It ain't nothing. And Vegas jail.
It doesn't worry you, but you decided to be a snitch, an informant, taking the proffer agreement. What are we talking about here? Yo, folks, stay out the streets, man. Stay out the streets because you think you can handle it. You're going to sit up on Vlad TV telling your war stories thinking you're that guy. And then you can get in some real hot water. Then you're going to turn into a rat. You're going to find out real quick you are this guy, a rat. Stay out the streets, folks. We preach accountability on this channel, and folks cannot handle the repercussions of being in the streets, so stay out of it.
California jail.
See, Charleston White promotes snitching. Charleston White promotes folks doing fuck shit like this and then snitching. Oh, so I'm just going to run the streets amok. I'm going to do all sorts of fuck shit, do all sorts of crime in my community, tear apart my community, and then I'm going to snitch and have other folks sitting behind bars. That's what Charleston White promotes. It's like, nah, nigga, stay out the goddamn streets if you're going to be one of these cowards. But look what's going to happen. You're going to sign up for jail. I spent a quarter of my life in jail. I'm going right back because I'm an idiot that needs to offer the information on Vlad TV. Now let's get into the information that he actually offered, and let's hope we don't actually get sniped down because this stream has been rough. How many times have you been sniped? Twice. That's why I went to the Art of Dialogue streams before I went to Vlad, because you never know with his copyrights. That's not him doing it. That's an automatic copyright reader. It must be, because I've reacted to Vlad recently too, so I don't even understand that. I don't even understand how this is happening. I really don't get this right now. But you know what? You know what, chat fam? We gotta shut the show down. We gotta shut the show down. Yeah, this is fucking bizarre. I never seen some shit like this ever. What the fuck is this?